This is Uptanasan and you are watching Night Club. Today we are going to explore the Italian game, also known as the Italian opening. This will be a complete crash course on the Italian game, spread across multiple episodes where we will cover every important line, trap, and gambits that arises from this opening. So let's master the Italian game together. The Italian game begins with the move pawn to e4, pawn to e5, knight to f3, and knight to c6. White then develops the king's bishop from f1 to c4. This is one of the oldest and most popular opening in chess, and it remains extremely important because it is played at every level from club players all the way to the very highest level of chess. Although it is called an opening, the Italian game is much more than just a few starting moves. It is a rich and complete system that has shaped chess history for centuries. It was developed and refined by the earlier masters, including the Italian player Giuoco, whose games are among the earliest recorded in chess history. Several important variations are named after him, most famously the Greco Gambit. In this introductory video, I want to show you the three major options that Black has. We will divide them into three clear categories. So, the first category is all the variations that arise from the move bishop to c5. The symmetrical option for the Black is extremely natural, and for that reason, it became the most popular response in the earlier chess history of this opening. Now, beside bishop to c5, there is an equal popular option, which is the move knight to f6. This move is known as the two-knight defense, and although it is equally popular, the type of position that arise from it are very different in character. So these are the first two categories, and that's where we will be focusing. However, there are third category, which is all the other options that are available to Black, which are the minor options, and they are worth knowing if you want to play this as white, or perhaps they are worth knowing if you want to surprise your opponent. You don't want to play either of two major lines, so option in that category include the move bishop to e7. This is known as the Hungarian defense. Pawn to h6, which is called the anti-fried liver defense. Pawn to f5 is the Russo gambit, and the other option also include the move pawn to d6, which we will see in our modern game section. As from here, if Black is not careful, he can fall into the well-known legal trap. Now, let's go back to the original move that we discussed, bishop to c5. This is the classical variation. From here, we will examine various systems. So traditionally, White played the move pawn to c3. And the intention with this move is to play the pawn to d4. Black has various ways of meeting this move, but the one where we will be focusing, the most principled reply is knight to f6, ignoring the threat of pawn to d4, confident that Black will be able to deal with this move effectively. Now in this situation, White historically would play the move pawn to d4. And here, after pawn takes d4, c takes d4, Black would give this check bishop to b4. And here, with the move like knight to c3, we are into Greco Gambit. After many years, player realized that these positions actually don't pose many problems for Black at all. So instead of pushing the pawn to d4, White started to simply defend the pawn on e4 with the move pawn to d3, and this sets up more Giuoco Pianissimo positions that are very quiet game positions. I should add that we are also going to be covering a twist on the move pawn to d4, because after e takes d4, we had just mentioned if c takes d4, it turns out that this check solves pretty much all the problems that Black is facing. So because of this, White started to play an in-between move, and that is the move pawn to e5. So this is also a very big topic that we will be covering in more detail later on. For now, let's go back to the starting position of the classical variation, which is after bishop to c5. And here, we are also going to discuss the move pawn to b4. It may seem like a very strange move to simply give up a pawn, apparently for nothing. But the idea is that if Black captures, for example, with the knight, then the knight is no longer defended the central pawn on e5. And this can have consequences. If, on the other hand, Black captures with the bishop, then the bishop is no longer on the long diagonal of g1 to a7. And importantly, White is able to play the move pawn to c3, striking at the bishop, forcing Black to spend more time and then follow it up with the move pawn to d4 later on for a quick center play and potentially some great attacking options. We also notice that after the move pawn to c3, this diagonal opens up, and so White can bring his queen quickly into play. With the move queen to b3, we are officially into Evans' Gambit. We will cover it in depth in next lessons. For now, Black actually does not have to take the pawn, so we'll also examine the bishop to b6. Therefore, we have two variations. If the pawn is captured, it should be captured by the bishop. That is the best option for Black. This is so-called Evans' Gambit accepted, and the bishop to b6 is called Evans' Gambit declined. Besides this, we are going to be covering the natural move kingside castle for White. Here, Black has several responses, but the most common response for Black is knight to f6. Continuing his development, and here we have a very interesting additional gambit. We just looked at Evans' gambit. Now we can consider the move pawn to d4, which again presents black with myriad of options. Pawn takes d4, bishop takes d4, or knight takes d4. And now we are into Deutsch gambit. It is very interesting gambit as well, and we will look at this in more depth in next lessons. Finally, in this position, if instead of castling kingside, white decide to continue his queenside development. This is a little bit less popular. The move knight to c3 will lead to what is known as typical after black's respawn knight to f6 as the 4-knight variation of Italian game. This is generally less popular because, as we have already seen, white usually like to give this square to reserve it for the pawn so that the pawn can push onto c3, control the d4 square, and fight for the center. Nevertheless, we will take a quick look at the move knight to c3 in the future. This covers all the possibilities. All the major possibilities for white after black's response of bishop to c5. So that is the classical line. Let's take a look at what can happen after the other popular choice, which is knight to f6, the two-knight defense. This move has the advantage of immediately attacking the pawn on e4. However, it does have a major potential disadvantage, which is that the g5 square is now available to white's knight. In the variation after bishop to c5, this is not the case because the queen controls this diagonal. Therefore, after the knight f6, we will look at this possibility knight to g5 striking at the weak point on f7. This is called knight attack. Now, black can respond in variety of ways. By far, the main move is pawn to d5. After pawn to d5, white will capture, and here beginner fall victim to this trap all the time. After knight takes d5, the very natural response, the very natural recapture of the pawn. There are tactical problems, and white here can continue with knight takes f7, which is known as the fried liver attack. We will take a look at this in upcoming lessons. Additionally, in this position, white can actually play the move pawn to d4, and this is the lolly attack. So this is another option that we will be looking at. Therefore, black doesn't usually capture on d5. So instead of capturing, black usually play knight to a5. And this is somewhat unusual looking move is so-called Polario defense. And that is the main line. However, it is not the only option that we will be looking at. We will also consider the strange looking pawn to b5, a gambit. Black has already sacrificed a pawn. His knight is under attack, and yet he offered a second pawn. This move is Ulvestad variation of two-knight defense. Let's go back to this position here. It turns out that black doesn't even need to defend this pawn. He has the option of bishop to c5, a very aggressive move known as the Trexler counterattack or the Trexler counter gambit. So this is going to be another chapter in our series. This marks the end of our variations after knight to g5. White can also continue much more slowly, and this is the main line these days, by defending the pawn on e4. And this is known as the modern bishop opening. The very final option against two knight. Finally, we see the more aggressive pawn to d4. This move is also known as the open variation, as white seeks to open the center up very quickly. And from here, after black's main move, pawn takes d4, in this position, here we have arrived at the Scotch Gambit where two knight variation. Now I should say that this is not the only order by which you can arrive at the so-called Scotch Gambit. In fact, let's go back to this very starting position, and I will show you a very common move order. Here is the alternative move for Scotch Gambit. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, and now after the move pawn to d4, we have what is known as the Scotch Gambit. Black now capture on d4. Rather than capturing the pawn, white plays bishop to c4. He is not interested in recapturing the pawn. And so here, we have arrived at Scotch Gambit with a different move order. And this is the most popular way to play Scotch Gambit. So let's go back. We saw this was the position here. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop to c4, Italian game, knight f6, two knight defense, pawn to d4, open game, and now after e takes d4, we are in Scotch Gambit lines. What are we going to show in the Scotch Gambit? We are going to talk about two major options and one minor. We are going to talk about knight to g5, the so-called Piro variations, attacking on f7, and then we are going to be looking at the two major parts are e5, the advanced variation, immediately attacking the knight on f6 or castle, which offer black the possibility of taking a second central pawn. And with that, we conclude all the variation that we are going to be examining in the two knight defense. There is only one last thing to say for this overview of the Italian game, and that is, if we go back to the starting position we mentioned at the beginning of the video, that after e4, e5, knight to f3, knight to c6, bishop to c4, and here we have some rare options. We have bishop to e7 is Hungarian defense, f5 is the Russian Gambits, and we have h6. This move is so-called anti-fried liver defense to protect g5. And we even have the move knight to d4, which offered this pawn on e5, and this is known as the shilling caustic gambit or the blackburn shilling gambit. So we will also look at these rare options that you must be prepared for as a white player, or if you want to catch your opponent as a black player. So that's it as far as the Italian game goes. Now I realize that there is really a lot of material here, but it is worth learning from either color because the Italian game is currently the most in e4 e5 positions at the very highest level of chess. So hopefully you will join us in our journey to uncovering the Italian game, and well, we look forward to seeing you in our first detailed video where we will begin examining the move bishop to c5, classical variation in much more detail. So see you soon then. Here is the detail for our upcoming lessons.